afternoon, and last week, we have at least known the basics of our faith. We have the speakers last week, Brother Ben and Brother Lane, reminded us of God's love, that the very, very purest form of His expression of His love is through talk number 2, which we come to know who is Jesus Christ. And right now, the next 2 talks will be our answer on the basics on what will be our answer to the calling that we have known last weekend. So, the speakers for today are again imported from Singapore again. And they're half Filipino and half Singaporeans. And they have 3 children. They're all teenagers now. And they're also members of the Couples for Christ in Singapore. And they're serving as National Council. They're part of the National Council of the CFC SG. And this is a couple tandem this afternoon. So the first talk will be given by the wife, and the second talk will be given by the brother later on. So without much further ado, I give you Ms. Mien.
Wow, blocking. Good afternoon. Did you take coffee? I think you need coffee, especially after you have eaten, or else you will fall asleep. No? Who here are the participants? If you can just raise your hands. Praise God, praise God. Who here are new today? Oh, new ones also. Praise God. So, thank you for those who came back. I hope that after this session, you will continue to come back next week. So, I'm Sister Nien. So, we were introduced as half Filipino, half Singaporean. I'm the Filipino. No, although my husband is a Filipino, he just converted to Singaporean. We've been living in Singapore for about 18 years already. So, I went there when I had just married, and so I gave birth there, and my kids all grew up there. We consider Singapore, our home already. Now, my talk. My clicker is behind. My talk is about what it means to be a Christian. So you've heard that Jesus is God and our Savior, and we are His followers. And actually, Christian comes from Christ, so we carry His name. But what does it mean for us? Do you guys know what it means to be a Christian? Okay, my background is I do market research, so it's my nature to ask questions. Sorry for you that you were moved here in front. But can I ask? Can I ask? What do you think it means to be a Christian? It can be any answer. To be a follower of Christ. What does that mean? Okay, what else? What else? What else does it mean to be a Christian? Doing His will, following His will. Yes. What else? Any other answers?
Try to be like Him.
Try to be like Him.
We recognize who our King is, rather than just being
Yeah. Okay. You recognize who your King is. Yes. Any else? Anybody else? Any other answers? Those are quite good answers. What I will tackle actually here are, before that, just to introduce again that Christianity started in Antioch. So this is actually where the disciples had fled to. When, Stephen, when he was stoned, so they were so scared, so they fled to this place. There were a lot of them who fled to this place, and that's where the seed of Christianity actually really blossomed. Because there were many who came here. So this is where Christianity started, and it's actually in a place now near Syria, at the border of Syria and Turkey. You wouldn't imagine that, that would be the place, right? Because right now it's a very, very, disruptive place. Yeah, a place of conflict. But that's where it started. And they came from Jerusalem. They traveled 400 kilometers. That's quite far. But somehow God planted that seed there. God is continues to plant seeds here with you. Yeah. So now moving on to the misconceptions about Christianity. One is that it's just a religious system. That it's a belief, our beliefs. I believe in God, the Father. I believe that the Jesus resurrected from the dead, that He is our King. Well, and it's good that we have those beliefs. But if it doesn't translate into how we live our life, then it's a bit lacking. Because what it means is that it remains in our intellect. It's an intellectual kind of faith level only. Yes, just knowledge, but not lived. Others is like you read about Him, read the Bible or read devotionals. I don't know, anything about God. You just have the passion to know Him more. Well, it's good to know Him more, and I guess it is the start of becoming a real Christian. But what if you learn or what you read about, again, does not translate to how you live your life? Then it is incomplete. Same way with hearing Mass. Right? Why do we hear Mass? I don't know. Some go to hear Mass just because it's a habit. Sunday Catholics, a lot are like that. Right? But again, if it's not translating into, or because it's not driven by, just this love for God, you just want to be with Him, and it's just being done out of routine, then it's incomplete. Another misconception about Christianity is that it's a moral system, do's and don'ts, you shouldn't lie, you should go and hear Mass, you should not be disrespectful to your parents, you should do this, do that. Or those who are, scared of doing things that could make them go to hell, like committing suicide. I don't know here in Malaysia, is suicide also, being done? Is it also high, the rate of suicide?
For a different reason, not because of death, for a different reason.
Yeah. I mean, I think more and more the young ones are killing themselves, right?
I think 9 years old John.
Oh.
And the conflict is on the head.
Oh, scary. I mean, they obviously they don't have that fear of or knowledge that that they might go to hell if they do that. But again, even with this kind of fear, if everything that we do is just done out of fear, then it becomes legalistic, sterile. There's no joy. But Christianity is not about following just because you're so scared. I don't know. I grew up with a disciplinarian dad. I grew up really being scared, following, really being obedient. But then there are some who grew up not in that kind of an environment, and there is joy, because you do things out of love. And in the same way, with Christianity, if all you're doing or not doing is just because you're scared, then you lose out on the joy. Another misconception about Christianity is that it's a social humanitarian system. It's being a good Samaritan, helping people out, or like giving aid. We all have these typhoons, earthquakes, so giving money or even going to these places. Some people think, that's being what Christianity is about. That's being a good Christian, just helping. But actually, even Buddhists, even Muslims, they help, right? They're not Christians. So it's not just about helping. It's beyond that. It's helping because of Christ. Again, Christ has to be at the center of everything that you are doing. Otherwise, it's again incomplete. And then lastly, a misconception is that it is an escape from reality. I don't know if you've heard that, those who are poor, those who are being oppressed, they turn to religion because they say, oh, okay, my life is problematic, let me just leave it to God, pray, and all that. Some people are saying that It's a form of escape for people so that they don't have to deal with their problems in life. That here, you pray, you sing, escaping. But no, that's not real. Because Christianity teaches us to face our problems. It said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So it is actually not escaping. It is connecting to God because you believe that He can empower you. I can live this difficult life that I have now because I have God with me. So if all of those are misconceptions of Christianity, then what does Christianity really mean? One is that it is union with God, made possible through Jesus Christ. This is a very, very good visual. We got separated. You know, when we were created at the beginning, Genesis, we were so connected with God, but because of the original sin, right? Because Adam sinned, then we got disconnected with God. And there was no way to bridge that gap until Jesus Christ came to be the bridge. So it is that union, with God. And let me also say that, and this is very important, it is a relationship that was initiated by God. During the early times, of course, everybody knows about the Israelites, Exodus, all of these things in the Bible, the early times. How many times did God save His people then? Many times, right? Many, many times. And how many times did the people continue to sin? Many more times. Yeah? It's like, even normally, if somebody saves you, you'd not want to repeat, right? You'd not want to repeat the sin. You'd want to be good, not hurt the person. But these Israelites, after all the miracles that they were given in Egypt, they continued to sin. And that's because of the nature of sin in their life. Sin makes it difficult for you to be good. That the sin in us makes it difficult to actually be good. And so what God did is to send His Son to be a sacrifice so that even in our weaknesses, even in our difficulty of being good, because of that sacrifice, we are made good. But it had to take a big sacrifice of sending His Son for us. I don't know, I cannot imagine sacrificing my child for somebody else. Yeah? It must be really coming from a great love. A greater love, I don't know, but definitely a great love for us. See, because of His great love, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ even when we were dead in sin. God did not wait for us to be good and then He gave us a reward of Jesus. No, it was when we were bad, still bad, that God gave the gift of Jesus. For it is by grace that we have been saved through faith. It is by grace, not by what we had done. It is really just by grace. Some truths, what does this mean? Is that we are a new creation. I was saying, right, that there are things that we are not able to do on our own. And I'm sure each of us has this, ugly thing about ourselves, right? The things that we don't like about ourselves, things that we know we should not be doing, but we continue to do, things that we should be doing but are not able to do, or hurts, whatever, things about ourselves that we wish we could change, but are not able to. But because Christ came, and through Christianity, through this gift, we are made new. We are made white as snow. If we were, if your sins, have made you so guilty that you feel that you are so unworthy, that you are, you have no hope in you to ever change, that's not right. There is hope. It was through Christ. And we are made new because of Christ. I remember when I had attended a similar program like this. It was a charismatic life in the Spirit seminar. I was so touched by what the Lord was telling me about His love, but then I knew that in me there was still this anger towards my mom. I had this deep-seated anger towards my mom, but I knew that that's wrong. That's wrong. I needed to change for God because He loves me. But then, what I couldn't, for many years I couldn't change that. But then what I did is like, Lord, please help me. You have the power to change me. Please help change my hardened heart towards my mom so that I can show her, love and respect. And it took a lot of time of prayer. But you know what? How the Lord really changed me. Somehow, one day, He started reminding me of all the many good things that my mom had done for me, which I couldn't remember because all I remembered were the hurts that she had given me. But just that day, somehow, it's like a reel replaying in my mind. He made me remember. He softened my heart. And it allowed me to say sorry to my mom. I couldn't have done that without the power of Christ. But, we are made new by Christ. But we just have to have faith. I had to have faith that somebody greater than me can change me. And I had that faith by praying, Lord, you can do this. I can't do this, but you can do this. You have to have faith. Whatever it is that you have, that you feel needs to be changed in you, simply have faith and the Lord can indeed make you new, as white as snow. This I really like. Because of what Christ has done, we have become sons and daughters of our Lord. God sent His Son that we might receive the full rights of sons, so you are no longer a slave, but a son. Before we, the Israelites, were just a people of God. The people of God. But because of Christ, we have become His children. Can you imagine the difference between just people and now your children? How much more is the privilege of a child versus just somebody you just created versus somebody who is your child? And as a child of God, what does that give us? It opens up so many more possibilities. Doesn't that free you up to ask God as how you would ask your parents for something? I don't know how you do it with God, but for a long time, I just perceived God to be God. God who directs things, who is an omnipotent God, but not really thinking of Him as my Father. My dad, I've had some difficult times in my life, which I didn't have work for like 2 years initially, and then another 2 years, and it was a very difficult time because in Singapore, you need to have work. The high cost of living, 3 kids, and all that. It came to a point wherein we were spending on a need basis, and even on a need basis, there was a time that, and this is quite traumatic for me still, that my son, he had been using his rubber shoes, which were, holy already. Holey with the hole underneath. But I didn't notice it, and it pained me to see that he was using such because we had to strip. My dad, who's retired already, he has been retired since he was 50 years old. So what he did was, he sold something. He sold a piece of land, and then he gave the proceeds to us. And then I was saying, but you don't have money yourself. We are not, as a child, you're even supposed to be giving to your parents. And it made me feel bad that we are not. But he gave it. He gave us, and he said, it's for your children. And when, that, what he had done, just magnifies or emphasizes the fact that to what extent a father would go to help his children. And if my earthly father can go and do that, sacrificing his own, mine and my mom's and his comforts, or even not comforts, but their daily sustenance for us. How much more can God do? How much more can He give? He